it was a word I used back with Coach B. I can't use it now for bleeping purposes, but we'll just use the altered version. I feel fan-freaking-tastic.
I can imagine. You're the friends, so we'll be okay. But it's fine, we'll take that version. We saw your emotions at the end of the race. Talk us through that feeling right now. Because you showed some emotion after the 100, and obviously there was some pent-up emotions there. But then there were different emotions after the 200, because obviously you were coming back and doing it, 3 in a row now. So talk us through the different emotions after the 100 and the 2.
Yeah, the 100 was just such a fun event. You know, it's as my mom says, it's the side chick. It's now been upgraded to Sugar Mama because it brings in all the bacon. You know, you can only make so much money running the 200, but the 100 is where all the money's at. But it's fun, you know, stress-free. But when I go to the 200, you know, that's my baby. That's where I stay. That's where I've learned how to compete. That's where I've learned how to run track, essentially. I've had my greatest, you know, downfalls, but at the same moment, greatest achievements. And I knew going into this final, I wasn't facing just any field. You know, this was probably the greatest field assembled to try and beat me, you know, to try to dethrone me. You know, we had, you know, teenagers coming out the wazoo, and, you know, we had people who were stepping their game up all season. You know, everybody in the field had a PR of sub 20. Now, this was nothing to laugh at. You know, this was a chance for anybody and everybody to say, you know, this is my world championship. So I had to know going in that, you know, this is my crown, and I'm going to prove to everybody that it's going to stay with me.
So now you've just outlined that, you know, you're very privileged. You've won multiple medals, starting in, for example, the 200 where you did the 3 in a row now, and then obviously you got that 100 meter on when is it, Sunday night already.
Yeah,
Sunday.
Almost a week.
It seems like a lifetime ago. I know you've been asked this question before, but I'm going to ask it again. Where do you rank those victories? You know, look at all of them. There's some more. You know, tell us which is the most special to you and why, if you can.
It's so hard because it's almost like choosing a favorite race. Everybody is like, oh, you know, what's your most favorite race? And it's like, well, they're all my favorite. You know, I have, you know, my PRs that I've grown with, you know, year after year and seen my development. And then I have the moments where it's like, oh, you know, this was a really rough race. Like, I keep some of my second place trophies and my third place trophies, even my sixth place, because they mean something to me. You know, I remember when I went to Jamaica for the first time and I ran my first sub 10 legally. You know, I got second to Zarnell that day. I kept that medal because it was a big moment in my career. And then, of course, I have my bronze medals from the Olympic, and it's probably going to be the most important because when I'm able to look at all my gold Olympic medals, I'm going to go back to my first one and be like, you were the reason that I fought so hard for all of these guys in the past. And, you know, those, you know, they're all special.
Now, is that true? There's a sixth place in there somewhere?
It's somewhere in there. I'm not going to say where, but it's somewhere in there.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I should have noted that when we scouted you. Now, tell me, for such a young athlete to have achieved so much already, how do you keep yourself motivated?
I just have an incredibly strong ambition. And that's with anything that I touch. That's whether it's track and field, whether it's social media, or my love for music, my love for fashion, my love for art, any craft that I have a strong ambition to not only be the best at something, but to change it once I'm done with it. You know, for people to see a new light, for people to see a new way of thinking of, you know, we had it here, but we could have taken it to this level. You know, as everybody likes to, you know, talk about Usain Bolt and, you know, how he changed the sport, I'm like, great, but how can we keep changing it? I feel like we said that once we got to Usain, we just like, oh, well, there's no way they can go further. Well, history moves on. Time moves on. It's time to, you know, take what we learned from that era and move it to the next era and continue it. Because I know that, you know, when I'm gone, somebody else is going to take all these and they're going to be able to say, you know, I'm going to do it in my way. And to be honest, I can't wait to see what somebody else is going to do with it.
You said something that when you were gone. That's still a long time away, so let's not talk about that.
Oh, he's gonna miss me.
think I'll be gone before you. Talk us through, every time you come onto the track and every time you're able to celebrate, you have something different for us. Is that something that you work out beforehand? Like, I'm going to do this when I go out to run a particular race, and this is how I'm celebrating? Or is it all in the moment, just something that is in you?
It's a mixture of both. There are some things that are just, not planned. Like, to be honest, the only thing I really had planned for this World Championships were the hats. I wanted to make sure that when I win, everybody knew that, I was a world champion. And hopefully I'll be able to start selling a few of these. We'll see how it goes. I actually now have an error in the hat. There's a 3 on here, and I think it needs to be changed to a 5 or a 6, depending on how tonight goes. And then sometimes I just say, let's just go with whatever I'm feeling. And I decided to do that for the 100 and the 200 this time. I didn't know how I would feel after winning. I knew I'd be excited, and I knew, I would create great picturable moments and stuff like that. But, as I finished both the races, it was kind of a moment of first just like, wow, I did this. And I don't feel a need to be over exuberant at that exact moment because I just want to actually take in the moment. My therapist always talks about, reflecting on being in the exact moment that you're in, not looking too far into the future, not looking at your past, but being exactly where you are. And I'm okay with, crossing the line, not having an emotion, but actually looking around like, dang, that was just something. That was just something.
Just taking it in. Now, after the 100 meters, you were very specific in what you said. You said, they said it couldn't be done. What is the message to the doubters now?
The message is the medals. I don't gotta say nothing to them. They were already proven wrong, and the medals prove it.
What would be your one piece of advice to a young track athlete that wants to get into the sport, or somebody trying to get into the sport?
It's always going to be the same. Make sure you're having fun. No matter what you're doing, make sure you're having fun. Because, this is my passion. No matter if I'm winning or losing, I'm going to want to compete. I'm going to want to go out there and face the top athletes. And I think the 100 is the best example of that. Everybody will keep asking me, why do you keep running the 100? Because I like to run against fast people. Like, I don't want to go into a race that I just think I'm going to win all the time. I want to challenge. I want to push my boundaries. That's my passion. That's my excitement. And as I look forward and I get to these moments that are going to be extremely hard, I got to remember what that passion is to keep me pushing. So if you're not having fun while you're going along in this journey, you're going to get to a point where you're like, why are you doing this? Why am I doing this? And you're going to have to think, I'm doing it because of this reason, because this is what I want, because I love doing this, and this is the joy that I have for it. So always remember that to have fun with it.
Now, you played an integral part. You've been with adidas since 2016, and you were an integral part of their spike that you ran in. Tell us what the partnership means to you and your involvement of having the opportunity to give input into the spike that you're actually going to run. What does that mean to you? What does the partnership and that involvement mean to you?
Yeah, I remember in 2021, I was talking to Fabian, and we were talking about Shawnee and what spike she was using in the 400 finals, and he was like, yeah, she was using this spike. And I was like, really? Excuse me. He was like, yeah. And I was like, but why? She's like, well, they're not happy about it. I was like, yeah. But why did she use the spike? It's a curiosity, it's an ambition. It's like, there's got to be a reason for somebody doing something this way. And, he came out with the idea, it was like, yo, if we, put some reinforcement in it, do you think that, you test it out? I said, I'll give it a try. I don't got a problem with that. He said, Peter, I think later that year, and I'm going to be very, very vocal and blatant. When the spikes got there, I had just got done from a night of celebrating. And I got a call from Mark, and he was like, yeah, they got some spikes that they want you to try the track. I am so sorry. That's going to have to wait for another day. I can't move off this couch. And later that day, I got another call. It's like, Spencer really wants you to try these spikes. Okay, but I don't know if I'm going to be running in straight lines. I get down to the track, I put on the spikes, and I actually am running. I'm like, oh my gosh. I sobered up real quick. Like, these are the best spikes I've ever put on in my life. It was really a crazy idea that something could actually come from distance spikes, you know? Something that nobody would really think to go, but here we are after modifying and, you know, trying new things with a spike that I truly believe is probably the biggest innovation that Adidas has made in a long time in spikes. But that's not to say that we can't keep going. And again, like my ambition, I hope to see that impossible is really nothing.
Well, I know that other athletes, as you have had input during the week, and I know you've got a session planned for tomorrow where you're going to talk about the innovation. The guys have got some stuff to show you, so it continues, it never stops, because you know, we want to make it faster.
Oh, you're getting me excited.
Now, you're the centerpiece of your own docu-series with Peacock. How does that feel to be, is it invasive in any way? Is it something you've always wanted to do? Have you enjoyed doing that?
Yeah. This is what I dreamed of. This is what I prayed for. You know, as I talk about innovating and pushing the boundaries and transcending the sport, this is, you know, the start of the moment that I dreamed of. You know, getting the medals was always the stepping stones to the first part of the dream that I've always had. And we're living in it. You know, this is the beginning. Now we have, you know, my own docuseries on Peacock, and you know, the Netflix series going around, and hopefully I'm going to start seeing more people get more docuseries and start pushing the boundaries, and people start realizing that, hey, this sport has a lot to offer. And the only thing that I can hope for after that is that the sport will say, hey, we need to raise the bar because a lot of people are going to be looking at us. But this right here is exactly what I wanted. You know, for people to see the good and the bad. And even with my own YouTube channel, I got beat by a high schooler this year, and I showed that journey because if I didn't tell that story, people would only see that I won today. But they wouldn't see that I had to go through a hard moment like that. You know, I had to go through a point where everybody would essentially be mocking me for getting beat by a high schooler. And the high schooler is fast, you know, don't get me wrong. But, you know, that got to do something to your ego. That got to do something to your confidence. And just showing people that there's good and bad times as well, I think paints a picture that everybody can relate to.
Could you imagine back then being at this point as an athlete?
Yeah, so since before I could remember, I had severe chronic asthma, and you know, I can't remember a time when I didn't have asthma. It was just a lot of nights in the hospital, staying up. I remember I had sleep studies done on me just to figure out if there were ways that I could, you know, better get rest. I remember having a distinct barking cough throughout the house, and it was kind of very well known that I was sick. Sports was definitely out of the question. I remember I would tell my mom I wanted to play basketball, and she was like, well, we gotta get you healthy first. And there was a time period where it never seemed like I was gonna get healthy, but again, my mom would come and she'd be like, oh, you know, down the road in the future, you're gonna be like, I can't even remember that I had asthma. And I think that's what this time period is now. It's like, shoot, I did have those nights where I couldn't sleep, where I was always in the hospital, where I was on the breathing machine, where I was constantly on medication, where I had to go through surgery to get my adenoids and tonsils removed because they were making me sick. You know, it's like, wow. And then getting to this point in my life where I'm the third fastest man ever to live, I have multiple gold medals, I've, you know, pushed the sport, and I'm like, wow, you know, and me, you know, God chose me. Like, shoot, that feels like another story where it's just like, It doesn't matter what you go through, it just matters how much you keep fighting for it.
First off, congratulations, Noah. You talk a lot about transcending the sport. And you talked yesterday at the press about the world champions going to watch the Super Bowl. How much would it mean to you to get an invite to the White House, or probably one of the Super Bowl big events in the United States? And what sort of welcome do you think you'll get when you get back home?
To be honest, I don't know what I'm gonna get. I know I'm gonna have to fight for it though. Just like everything else in my life. You know, track and field is one of those sports where it's not here to give you the easy access to the world. You have to make your own likeness. You have to fight for your own spotlight. And that's why, you know, me and my agent, we fight so hard. That's why I do so much of this media, because I know what it's gonna take. I know how to get out of the box, and I know that I have to keep pushing. And sometimes it really feels like it's not doing anything. You know, I came to these world championships and I had about 396,000 followers on Instagram, and it probably grew by about 50K. And some people would be like, oh, that's a great margin. I'm like, that's nothing. That's nothing. If we're being seen on TV by millions of people, I can't get a portion, I can't get 100,000 at least from that. Like, I've had to work for all the followers that I get, and you know, where I see that is in my engagement. So when I go to these companies and I'm like, hey, you know, let me be your spokesman, you know, I'm basically telling them how to run their social media because my engagement is better than their engagement. So now I have power. And it just goes back to knowing my worth, knowing how to work the system, knowing what I have to bring to the table. And again, we're in that sport where we have to keep pushing, and we have to know that when the spotlight is on us, we know what to do with it.
Obviously, doing this double for the first time, there was months and months of preparation and lead up with your entire team. I know you still probably did debrief with a lot of people, but now that it's over and you accomplished what you wanted to, looking ahead to next year's preparation for another double attempt, is there anything you can think?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Off the top of your head, is there anything about any part of the preparation that you'd say, I'd like to change this or do something different, or is it pretty much going to be, let's run it back and do it again, same way?
Sleep. Sleep is probably the thing that I'm really going to be fighting for a lot. You know, it is so important to get in this media, but at the end of the day, I can come back on a day like today. You know, yeah, I get going in for the 100 and want to do the day after because everybody wants to talk to you, but I think we're going to have to push really hard for trying to get as much sleep as possible because that's when the body recovers the most. And I'd say that's the only thing that truly I need more. You know, as I went into the 200 yesterday, all my body wanted to do was sleep all day. It was just sleeping. Even as I got to the track, my body was just like falling asleep on the table as I had my PT working on me. And I was like, I don't need to sleep. And she was like, no, you need to sleep. It's like, even if you need a power nap, like, you need to go to sleep. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna let you go to sleep. And when it was time, you know, to wake up and get that energy, the body started reacting, and it was reacting very well. But I can only imagine how much better the race could have been if I was able to get more sleep on top of that.
Okay, let's go back to the last couple of questions, and then we're going to wrap this up. So, kind of quick fire questions. So, the first thing that comes into your head, but some of them are a little more intricate, but we start off with the one. I think I know the answer. I think everybody does. I'll ask the question. 100 versus 200. If you could race against a former gold medalist across either the 100 or the 200, who would that be and why?
Michael Johnson and Bolt. Easily two people that I want to race against.
And why?
They're mental. And it's very rare that I feel I get to race people who have the same mentality as me to such a high degree. And it's even more rare that they are in the same place at the same time. Both of them are two people whose mental were just so strong. They understood what it took to be a champion. And not only did they do that, they performed on the day of. It's one thing to get your body ready for the whole year. It is a whole nother thing to actually do it on the day that it matters.
Okay. What's your favorite way to get ready for an important race? Are you listening to music, getting hyped up, watching a TV show, or taking your mind off, just doing something different?
So we talking about during the warm up, or we talking about throughout the day?
The warm-up.
Oh, it's music. It's music all the way. Oh yeah, you'll hear me screaming across the track, singing all my music. Now I know a lot of people probably get mad at me for screaming my songs out at the top of my lungs, but I'm sorry, I gotta win.
I know the answer to this as well, but the audience does, and I know Janelle has played a role in some of this. Okay. What's your go-to post-race recovery tool? Is it a protein shake, an ice bath, or a favorite stretching routine?
We're fans of going to get smoothies and Planet Smoothie. And then, of course, jumping in my hot tub. I bought it for a reason, and I love to use it. Even though I'm in Florida, I love to jump in the hot tub. The best time to get at it is in the morning and at night, though.
Okay, two more. You're a big fan of manga comic books. Which is your favorite and why?
It's just manga.
Just manga.
It's okay. Yeah. Comic books are a whole different thing. But what was the question?
So what is your favorite manga?
My favorite manga? Well, my favorite manga it's a manga called Garden of Eden. It's like it takes you on a lot. It's about like a story about a high school group of kids who got their plane goes down and they end up on this island, and it turns out this island has prehistoric creatures and like these big experiments and all this stuff, and it's real futuristic / the whole school basically coming together to survive on this island. But if we're talking about my favorite anime, it's Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay, there you go. Final question, and one that looks into the future. What do you want your legacy to be?
When I'm done with my legacy, I want to be able to come back to this sport. I want to be able to come back to track meets. I want to be able to see all the new runners and then be like, yo, you made it possible for me to choose the path that everybody else said that I couldn't take. That's the legacy that I want to have.
Brilliant. Oh, there's one more question, I believe.
I had one. You have one more to go. How do you feel?
I'm excited. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.